All right, bird experts. Yesterday we listened to our read aloud of our newest source, Feathers, Not Just for Flying. And we talked a little bit about the main idea. Can someone remind me what that main idea was? Right. It was that feathers have many jobs and they help birds survive in different ways. Now, I was flipping through the book and I saw this page and it had a different heading. It wasn't about feathers or birds. It said author's note. And the author's note is a piece of writing that the author includes in a book just to tell additional information to help their readers understand why they wrote the book and how they wrote the book. So I'm going to read the author's note to you. While I was doing research for another book, I stumbled across a fascinating article in Birders World, now Bird Watching Magazine. It describes some of the amazing ways birds use their feathers. I knew this would be a great topic for a children's book, so I photocopied the article and pinned it to the idea board in my office. A few months later, I dug into the research. As I do for all my books, I turned to 3 sources for information: the library for books, magazines, and newspapers, the internet for journal articles and locating experts in the field, and my own nature journals. Some examples in this book are based on my personal observations in the natural world. Others come from interviews with scientists, as well as reports in scholarly books and scientific journals. For me, research is the easy part of a project. The hard part is figuring out the most interesting way to frame the material. I'm always asking myself, is there a way I can make this even more engaging? For this book, I spent 3 years tinkering with the text. I wrote countless drafts and did 4 complete overhauls before I finally latched onto the idea of comparing feathers to common objects in our lives. That's when the writing came to life, and I knew the manuscript was ready for my editor. So how did our author, Miss Melissa Stewart, research feathers for this text? Right, she just told us. She read books, articles, magazines. She found bird experts on the internet, and she used her own nature journals. You guys have made your own research notebooks in the past couple of weeks, and we're going to do even more research. But you can also expand your knowledge about birds by using what's outside in your neighborhood. Everyone has seen a bird fly by at some point. It may not be the birds that we're talking about in our book, but you could go find a bird outside that you would like to know more information about, and then come back home and ask your parents for help to research it. Today, we're going to revisit a few pages from our source as we gather evidence to begin to answer our new research question, which is, how do birds use their feathers to survive? Remember, we need evidence. Evidence is something that gives proof of or a reason to believe something. Okay? And so far, we've learned a lot about what researchers do, and we know they gather information from the text. But after that, we want to note that researchers also take notes to collect information to answer a research question. So we know our research question is, how do birds use their feathers to survive? As a class, we're going to use this note catcher. And since you guys are not here with me, I'll look through the book and write some things on our note catcher. Researchers also share what they learned with others through writing. Beginning tomorrow, we're going to share what we learned through writing, and we're going to start to write a paragraph about what we're learning as researchers. With our note catcher, the first column is going to be an adjective. We've learned lots about those. And we're going to use an adjective to describe the different types of feathers, okay? The second column is going to be, how does the feather help the bird survive? We're also learning about that in this book. The third column, I will add pictures of the feathers and or the birds that the feathers come from. Let's see together what kind of evidence we can find about feathers using the text features that we've learned about so far. Now we know the structure of our text and our text features that may help us. What are some of those text features that we've learned about together? Right, our headings, the captions, the pictures, and even the text boxes that show us some new information. We talked about that in our guided reading group yesterday with Tarzan. We looked at the headings as we learned about similes. Let's reread and see if there are any more information that we can add to our class notes. So we're going to take back a look at this page. It says, feathers can warm like a blanket. That's our simile, our first simile that we talked about. At the bottom it says, on cold, damp days, a blue jay stays warm by fluffing up its feathers and trapping a layer of warm air next to its skin. And here are examples of the blue jay's feathers. So, how would we describe this feather? What's an adjective that we could use to describe the feather? Exactly. We could say that this feather was stiff. We could say that this feather is soft or fluffy or warm, because we know that this simile says feathers can warm like a blanket. So we can use one of the adjectives that are already in our book and say the feather is soft, fluffy, and warm. Now, how does the feather help the bird survive? Exactly. It keeps the bird warm when it's cold. Everything that we're looking for our class notes is right on the page. On cold, damp days, a blue jay stays warm by fluffing up its feathers and trapping a layer of warm air next to its skin. So, the feather helps the bird stay warm. And for our picture example, I will put a picture of a blue jay or a blue jay's feather. Let's try another one. We're going to move on to our second page. And there we have a little wood duck. And our heading says that it can also cushion like a pillow. So what word or words could we use to describe this feather? And here's a picture of the feather from a wood duck. Maybe we can put soft as well. How does the feather help the bird survive? Our page says a female wood duck lines her nest with feathers she plucks from her own body. These feathers cushion the duck's egg and keeps them warm. So these two both are soft. They keep the bird warm. One keeps the bird warm, and one keeps the duck's eggs warm. So we're going to say it keeps duck's eggs warm. So as we learn more about the feathers, we're going to continue filling out this chart. It says, feathers can soak up water like a sponge. Here is the feather. It's from a Palus sand grouse in the Gobi Desert in Mongolia. On sizzling summer days, a male sand grouse cools off by soaking his belly feathers in a watering hole. Then the proud papa flies to his nest. While dad guards his chicks, the little ones suck on his feathers to quench their thirst. How would we describe this feather? If I think about the simile that we used earlier today, I could say that, maybe the feather is like a sponge or porous. Porous is the word that means it has holes and it sucks up things really good. How does the feather help the bird survive? It helps baby chicks drink water. So even though the feathers are not helping the bird that they are on, it helps the little birds so that they can grow and be bigger. There are lots more feathers in our book. So I'm going to add to this class notes and we're going to continue discussing it, okay? I'll see you back here for our next video.